FearCoach D'Amico's here. It's a little chilly outside than I thought because in the car was so warm, but apparently outside it's not the same. So let's get this over with. What's happening, Casino? And I got my favorite, Ciroc. French vanilla is my favorite. Ciroc makes a few vodkas I like, but this is my favorite. So, I watched the movie The Photograph. What I want to say, first off, is this is a spoiler. A lot of spoilers about to be in this video. If you haven't seen the movie or you don't like spoilers, don't watch this video. Come back and watch it after you've seen it. So the movie, The Photograph, first off, it's a good movie. I highly recommend a lot of you black men go see it, especially with, you know, a young lady that you're seeing. One of the things, no trace, you're right, no trace chaser. One of the things that I appreciated about the film is that it didn't stereotype neither black men or black women and black men and black women relationships. There was no abuse going on, no toxicity. What's happening, E-Love? Was no, you know, nobody being raped or anything like that. And but it spoke on a true fear that I know most black men have, that hinders them from, that they often regret later on down the road by not taking a chance on the black woman that they were interested in, highly interested in, that they wanted to be with. So for starters, the movie was a great movie. The only thing about the movie is that I feel like it was kind of rushed, but it was a short film, only an hour and a half. What's happening, Ra? It was overall, it was so good, man. It was one of the films that you got to just sit with, you know. You got to sit with it afterwards. You got to be a little vulnerable when you watch it, you know. Otherwise, I think you'll miss out on a lot of the jewels and lessons it has to teach you. So anyway, they had one of these moments during the film that stood out to me, where her mother had taken on a career. She's basically pushed out the house and had taken. What's happening, John? Love you, bro. She had taken on a career. She had a career opportunity in New York, and they were living in Louisiana. And she was dealing with the guy. She loved him. He loved her. They were in a relationship. But she felt like the town was too small for her. They didn't present the opportunities that she wanted, which is a lot of black men and black women are dealing with that, right? So you want to move into a bigger market, say Atlanta, New York, California, even overseas. And so what she did was she decided to up and just leave, which was messed up, you know, because she just left him without a notice. And her mom said something pivotal, because here you have the outside influence, which her mom was. She said he's never going to be more than a fisherman, which he basically was. He worked at the dock of the bay. Shout out to Otis Redder. That's a little bit old school for y'all. By the way, I'm smoking a Macandu. I forgot what brand this is, but it's a medium cigar. It's a good light cigar. It's my third one for the day, so that's why I'm getting the light one before I hit the sack. But anyway, yeah. So she told him, she was like, her mom told him he's never going to be more than a fisherman. That's all his dad ever was. That's all he's going to ever be. And her mom also wanted her to move out and get her own place. I think the girl was like 21 at the time, 22. And this was back in the 80s, right? The movie, it transitions between between the mid 80s to the, you know, recent times. And so the thing, she up and just left him. Like her mom was right. That is probably all he's gonna be, because eventually that's all he ended up being. But he treated her so right. Like, he was kind to her. He was encouraging, supportive of her. The only thing is that he really didn't have any more ambitions to be bigger than a fisherman. So it left her in this dilemma. Do she pursue her dreams, or do she stay for the love of her life? And she decided to pursue her dreams rather than have a tough conversation with him on how to make that transition. I felt she could have, had a conversation with him. What's happening, Shaka? She could have had that conversation with him, and they could have been like, hey, let's work this out and then make this move. But she moved so abruptly and left him. And she didn't come back till like 3 months later. And when she came back 3 months later, he was already remarried and had impregnated a woman. Now, keep in mind, it seems kind of fast to you all right now, but this is the 80s. That was very, and this is the South. So this was very commonplace in the South, is that you're going to be with a woman. The girl that you're likely to date is likely to become your wife and the mother of your children. There was no, I'm going to be dating all these people and figuring my options out. Not in the 80s, right? And especially not in the South in the 80s. You got to think about it. In the South, it's always usually decades behind socially and consciously prior to social media than the rest of the country. So it's really like the 60s. But anyway, so she moved to New York. What's happening, Natasha? What's happening, Michaela? I said it right, didn't I? Michaela. So she moved, she left him. He was heartbroken. And that's another thing I think that got kind of overlooked, is they didn't really explore how he felt about it, which, this is not a chick flick. I want to say that for starters. It's not a chick flick. Masculine men can enjoy this film as well. Being I'm a coach that does a lot of coaching specifically for Fear and for black men. They didn't really emphasize or go into how he emotionally was dealing with it all, which I think was an opportunity that was blown and gets blown in a lot of films, especially black films, is they never really investigate the vulnerabilities of black men. And so it continues to perpetuate a stigma that black men really don't have any feelings, that black men don't really get caught up in the emotional aspect of existing, which is totally false. Black men are just as emotional as black women. Hell, that's why we're often more physically expressive than black women are. It's because we're emotionally invested. It doesn't mean we're without emotion. So that's an opportunity I think they missed. However, they at the end of their lives, when she passed and he got old, what's happening, Shanika? That she left these letters, these series of letters that was telling about their romance, and she left one for him. And she just spoke about in those letters about a lot of regret she had and not even being the kind of mother she wanted to be. See, this one fear of not confronting the hard conversation with your spouse, with a guy that you love, a guy that you're interested in, that she avoided that fear led to another fear of her not even being able to be the type of mother she wanted to be for a child, because she was always putting her professional life first, putting her career first. And for her as the mom, she's like, I'm doing what's best for my kids, right? I'm doing what's best for, the family. At the same time, your family your personal life is suffering. Now, she ended up remarrying, but she felt like she missed out so much of being present, because she was always focused on the future and focused on work, being the greatest at work. So, Issa I love how they styled her this video. She didn't look like the around the way girl in this video, in this movie. She looked like an elegant woman. She looked like a mature woman. She looked like and it's not because she didn't have the natural fro, like she usually does. It's just because they just dressed her well. Like, her outfits were, her demeanor, everything about her was very elegant, was very grown. It wasn't hip-hop-ish, youngish, like a lot of her older content was, which I appreciated. I appreciate both the well. You know what I'm saying? Shouts out to Issa. I'm a fan of her work, and I think she's super beautiful. But I just love the maturity that they gave her in this film. She really stepped into the character for this one. And then Lakeith was a stellar actor. Now, he might be an asshole of a guy, offline and in real life. You know, a lot of the time he might be a little wrapped up in himself, might be a little kooky, but he's just an incredible actor that you can't take your eyes off because he's always speaking, even when he's not saying nothing. Anyway, so they had it flipped where he had opportunity to move to London to try something new with his career. What's happening, Miss Ali? And he had something to try, and they were getting to know each other, but he was really infatuated with her. He was head over heels for her. And he had the opportunity to move. So again, instead of taking, you know, he kind of avoided the mistake her mother made, but kind of made the same mistake. Because he told her, but told her last minute that he got the opportunity. He didn't just up and leave. And it caused a lot of conflict. But here's another pivotal thing in relationships and marriages especially. That when those tough conversations are made, y'all got to automatically, when you're dealing with someone and they're not vulnerable, they're going to say, okay, well, go do you. Right? And that's them shielding themselves from being emotionally further damaged. As I'm explaining this film, I'm trying not to get too detailed in the film and too detailed in the psychology of how fear affects. I'm trying to do like an even balance between both. So work with me. So so when he told her and she dipped, you know, it was like, damn. You know, there was another opportunity missed again if they didn't dive into how it affected him emotionally. I felt they didn't really dive into his emotional aspect. I feel like, again, they focused around her, the woman. Furthering a lot of stigmas that men aren't really emotional. And we're just as emotional as women. And so he went to London and he told her, he said, hey, I'm moving out the country, but I still want to get to know you. And she just, you know, she was caught up in feeling rejected, that she wasn't even present enough to know that, hey, even though this guy is moving halfway across the world, he still has an interest, a very real interest in getting to know me still. She was caught up in the rejection. She just told him, like, no, just go do you, you know, have fun, you know, build your life, you know, I'm gonna stay here and, you know, it's gonna be the end of us. And now eventually, again, spoiler alert, she did eventually go to London and, you know, visit him for a concert. So, you know, but the movie was just like, I know so many black men, they say, you know, they get so caught up in not, when a woman rejects you or a woman is hard on you, don't get caught up in the rejection itself. Don't get caught up in the story of how the rejection is placating your mind by saying you're not good enough, you're not attractive enough, you don't have enough success, you're not the type of man she needs, etc., etc. Because when you get caught up in the story of rejection, you miss out on the opportunity of connection right in front of you. And you got to fight for what you want. And I think that's what this movie, was the underlying message and tone that it was giving you throughout the entire thing. Even when something changes and doesn't go your way and it looks like rejection, the bridge and opportunity that is still there for connection. But you have to face and overcome your own fears in order to get to it. Am I making sense to y'all so far? Let me know if I'm making sense. Let me know if I'm not making sense. So, overall, the film was a great film. It didn't make it. She wasn't no gold digger. She had her own money. He had his own money. He wasn't no bum. And overall, they eventually made it work. It's just, had they confronted their fears from the beginning and been as vulnerable, overcoming those walls of rejection, it could have been a lot smoother of a transition for them all, and even her mom. And her mom had big regrets for not staying with that guy in Louisiana. He turned out to be a great guy. He actually turned, and I'm gonna spoil it because by the time people watch this video, they're gonna be done seeing it anyway. What's happening, Miss Culpepper? So the guy actually ended up being her father, who she had the escapade with, who's a boyfriend, who she left and came back 3 months. She came back 3 months later. No, yeah, because her mom died. Found out he had a baby and he was married to somebody else. Didn't say anything to him. And so when she came back 3 years later, 4 years, I think it was 2 years later or 3 years later. She had a baby, and it's funny because Issa and the father end up exchanging. He was like, she was like, "Why didn't you ask?" He was like, "I was too afraid to ask." And it wasn't like he was going to be a deadbeat dad. He was just too afraid to. He was so caught up in being let down and heartbroken that she would really leave him that he didn't even ask if this child was his or not. Now, he greeted the child and everything, but he didn't know it was his. And it's the same way, you know, his mom, her mom could have said the same thing, could have told him. And they were both heartbroken about it, but it was just so many opportunities. Life is so precious. You're not guaranteed to have these moments again. You're never going to be this young again. You're never going to be in this current place you are ever again in life. It's going to change. And one of the things you hate to be is on your deathbed writing a letter about, you know, crying your heart away with tears of you know, with tears filled with regret, because you can't get it back. So I want you black guys to know that if you got a good woman in your life, if you got a good woman that you've been dealing with, treasure her. And through the rejection and adversity, do your best to be with her and retain that relationship and keep that relationship alive. And it must be reciprocated. Must be reciprocated. Don't be the only one fighting for it. But usually when one person swings forward in a relationship and the other person wants it just as bad, they're both swinging to make it work. Don't become that old man or that old woman writing the will, writing your letters to your grandkids or your kids about a lover that you wish you would have fought a little bit harder for. Who was a good person. Because the guy was actually a good man through and through all the way to his old age. You know, in the letter, she told him to take care of her. He obliged to it. He was happy to find out that was his daughter. Hell, they looked alike. And the casting was great in this film, too. Even though they go through different time periods, I thought that they looked very similar. So it was great casting as well. So this is a really cozy movie. I think it has a lot of replay value down the line. The love feels kind of rushed, but you got to understand they got 2 hours, less than 2 hours, to tell a full life story. I think it's based on a true story or a book. But it's a good film. I recommend y'all go see it. Again, black guys, we're going to go see it. If you got a young lady, a woman that you're seeing that you want to see it with, go see it together. Because it just teaches about vulnerability, man. That's the biggest component. That's what I see a lot of black guys running from. It's being vulnerable, even when you feel rejected. And therefore, it causes you to miss out on the love of your life. All right, that's all I got for y'all. FearCoach here, D'Amicos. The Other Side of Fear is my book that's available on Amazon if you want an autographed copy. Just shoot me a DM. What's happening, Sierra? Just click on the link of this video to go get my book yourself if you want a paper book copy or an ebook copy. If you want to schedule a consultation with me, a free 15-minute, you can do that as well there. All my stuff is there in that link. So, all right, y'all, that's all I got for y'all. Be sure to share this video with a black guy. And it's a God thing. Remember, you had what it took the entire time. All right, The Other Side of Fear. I'm out.